How is it kicking, everybody, and welcome back into another episode here at Patriots Global. As always, I'm your host, Colby Cochran. Now, look, guys, before we get into it, there's going to be a lot of questions, right? There's going to be a lot of questions. Colby, where the heck in God's name have you been? You fell off the face of the earth. I didn't see you on TikTok. I didn't see you on Twitter. I didn't see you here. I didn't see you at Roundtable Sports. Did you quit? Are you getting lazy? What in God's name is going on? I'm going to be completely honest with you guys because I always believe that this channel and what I'm trying to build here with you guys is more than just a regular analyst. It's more than what you see on Twitter. It's more than what you see just on TV. I want to make a real connection with you guys. I want to be forward with you guys here. Worst week. Absolute worst week of my life. And we're not going to sit here and talk about this for long. We're going to get into the news. We're going to break this down. We're going to talk about the football side of things because there's a lot to get into, a lot that I'm behind on. But worst week of my absolute life, things that the majority of people will never be able to understand. I'm not going to get into this. I'm not going to trauma dump on you guys, but had a lot of personal things going on in my life that were very, very traumatic, are still very traumatic. But we are going to completely nosedive into work. We're going to get our minds off of it, and we're going to get right. If there's one thing, this is the final thing I'm going to say. If there's one thing that you take away from anything that I have ever said to you guys from a football standpoint, from a life standpoint, it is that you need to be okay for yourself before you can be okay for others. And understanding that we are about to be in the thick of it for the football season, I thought, let me take a few days to just get myself as right as I possibly can before the heat completely comes of the football season. So I appreciate you guys for being patient. I appreciate for those of you who have been understanding, who didn't unsubscribe, who didn't come at my neck, but we are officially back. So much news, so much rumors to get into. As you guys know, free agency technically starts on Wednesday, but the legal tampering period, that's going to begin on Monday. Guys, do not make the mistake I have made for so many years, right? And that is the fact that the big moves, they're going to happen on Monday. They are going to happen on Tuesday. The biggest names, at least some of the biggest names in free agency in this pool, they are going to sign with their respective teams come Monday, come Tuesday. By Wednesday, a lot of guys are already going to be off the market come the technical first day of free agency. So make sure you are prepared on Monday. You are prepared come Tuesday, because that's when we're going to be releasing a lot of videos. Rumors are going to be flying. Guys are going to be signing everywhere. This is going to be a one-stop shop for everything involving the moves the Patriots make, because I'm going to jump on here as quick as humanly possible to break it down for you guys. But one of the biggest things that has come out over the last few days is that DK Metcalf has requested a trade from the Seattle Seahawks. Now, the Seahawks have made a lot of moves. They are turning over that roster completely. So the first part of this being, a lot of people are going to ask themselves, well, you know what? What about this is realistic? Why would they trade their number one wide receiver? Well, DK Metcalf, he needs a new contract. He's clearly not happy. He wants to be traded. The Seattle Seahawks just traded Geno Smith yesterday, I want to say it was, for a third-round pick here in the 2025 drafts. Now, their franchise quarterback, their starting quarterback is officially gone. They have nobody who is currently their starting quarterback in Seattle. They released Tyler Lockett. They're releasing several other players. It sounds like the Seahawks are in a bit of a rebuild, so it would make sense if they are trying to get younger. They're going into year two of a new regime with a year two head coach. It would make sense that they're trying to flush out some players that maybe don't necessarily make sense for their specific scheme, or guys that maybe they don't feel deserve certain contracts. So that is why a trade of DK Metcalf would make a ton of sense. Now, according to Ian Rappaport himself, one of the most reliable sources in the NFL world, he says, and I quote, "The Chargers, Texans, and Patriots are the three teams showing the most interest in trading for Seattle Seahawks wide receiver DK Metcalf." Now, I'm going to adjust this a little bit because this is one of the biggest reports that we had heard. This came back on the 6th. So this was about 2 days ago that we got that report from Ian Rappaport. What I've heard, I would say about the last day or so, is that the teams that are really exploring the biggest trades for DK is the Patriots, the Chargers, and the Steelers. So I think those are the three teams that make the most sense. The Texans did just trade a 7th-round pick for Christian Kirk, so I don't think they're going to be as big on a potential trade for DK. Now, the other side of this being, what is the compensation that they're looking for? From what's being reported, Seattle's looking for a 1st-round pick and a 3rd-round pick in order to acquire the all-pro wide receiver. Now, with that being said, nobody's making that move for several different reasons, right? DK's out here saying he wants to be traded. It's very known that the Seattle Seahawks are turning over that roster. He needs a new contract. He has some character issues. You're not getting a 1st and a 3rd-round pick. You might not even get a 1st-round pick for him. So it has been well known league-wide to Seattle that nobody is going to pay that price. Teams are letting them know, we are not going to be paying that price to you. So it sounds like they are coming down on that a little bit, but how willing are they going to be? Again, I mean, they did just release Tyler Lockett. Yes, DK does ultimately want to trade, but just because he wants to trade doesn't mean they necessarily have to. So with that being said, is there a world in which they say, well, if you don't give me the compensation that I'm looking for, I'm just simply not going to trade you? Maybe. But again, understanding the mentality of DK Metcalf, the bit of a diva that he is, me personally, I just don't see that happening. Now, there was another report here that I wanted to bring up that I thought was really interesting. And this was coming from, who was this? I want to make sure I get these names right for you guys. So this was from Daniel Jeremiah, another very reliable source in the NFL world. And he said, and I quote, everybody in the league thinks that DK Metcalf is going to the New England Patriots. Now, with that being said, you guys are also going to bring up the quote that I want to actually pull up myself here, so I also make sure I'm saying this verbatim. But of course, when DK Metcalf basically said, hell no, I'm not going to the New England Patriots, he said a couple months ago, before the rumors came out, before DK officially requested a trade, he was asked about the rumors going around that New England could potentially explore this deal. And he said, and I quote, no, it's not a desirable place to live, in my opinion. The Patriots are a great organization, though. To me, I think everybody's looking into this a little bit too much. I'm getting a phone call here. When I looked into that quote from DK, what I understood, I'm not DK Metcalf, but from I understood was going to the Patriots is not a desirable place right now, but that organization is still a good place to be. They've had a lot of success. I don't think that he would hate to be a part of the organization. I think the biggest flaw about New England and why DK wouldn't want to go there is because it's just Boston, right? I mean, it's Massachusetts. That's why a lot of players, they don't want to live there. During the winter, it's not exactly the nicest place to be. During the fall, it's the best place. I mean, I stand by this. I think Boston has the best pure fall football weather. The summer's chef's kiss, absolutely beautiful. Winter is not so nice. My pitch to DK Metcalf would be, we have the most cap space in the NFL. We have exactly $127 million. In second place, in terms of cap space, is the Raiders, and we have roughly $20 to $30 million more than they do. So we will give you more money than anybody else is going to. We are going to give you a contract extension for long-term stability. Not just that, but you're going to come here and you're going to have opportunities. And that is something that DK, I don't want to say he's never had in his career, but as of late during his time in Seattle, DK really hasn't had true opportunities because he's been a part of a trio when it comes to his wide receiver core. Yeah, technically he's been the wide receiver one. He's been that big alpha outside X receiver, but he's been in a really good trio to where he's not getting as much production as I think he wants, and he's not getting as much production as he would here in New England. You got Tyler Lockett, you got JSN, you got guys that are also going to get production and deserve production, which is taken away from DK Metcalf. You come to New England, You're working with an upcoming quarterback in Drake Maye, who multiple league executives said that his ceiling is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. You have Sean McDermott of the Buffalo Bills saying after they played the New England Patriots that he wants Drake Maye traded out of the division because of just how scared he is of Drake Maye, because of just how talented he is. The Patriots receiving core is the worst in the NFL. DK, you come here, not only are you the wide receiver 1, but you're the wide receiver 2. You are through in and throughout the number 1 guy. And it just so happens that Drake Maye, he operates best deep. Now, he operates best in between the numbers, but he operates best deep. Drake Maye wants to take shots deep down the field. They don't have a true deep threat right now. That's what DK Metcalf would be. DK could come to a situation where he can excel, where he knows he's going to get opportunities to be that number 1 guy, to be the vocal point of the offense, and to make plays deep down the field. Because again, that's where the Patriots quarterback in Drake Maye likes to operate. So I get it. I get the quote. I get DK saying it's not a desirable place to play in his opinion, but I think they can change his mind. I think they can change his mind with showing him some tape of Drake Maye, by giving him a contract extension, by giving him more money than any other NFL team would do, and also say, DK, you don't got to be here for OTAs. You don't have to be here for mini camp, for any of that. We just need you here for training camp and the regular season. We need you here. Let's say we don't even need to say late July, because technically training camp usually starts about that final week of July. Let's say, DK, we need you here from the beginning of August. Once August starts, we need you back here in Boston, in Gillette Stadium, and then all the way through the end of the season, potential playoffs. So let's say we need you from the beginning of August upwards to the end to mid-January. After that, between, mid to late January to July, you can be wherever you want. You could be in Cancun for all we care. You can be in Seattle. You could be in Massachusetts. We don't care where you're going to be. You can be anywhere else. So for half the year, roughly half the year, you got to be here in Massachusetts. You got to be able to at least make the commute. But the other half of the year, you can go anywhere else you want to. That would be my pitch to try to get somebody like DK Metcalf. Now, next up here, I want to talk about the contract, because I think that is a big piece of this that I don't want to say people aren't, giving credit to, but I don't think I've heard enough people really talk about the contract. So looking at the current contract here for DK Metcalf, heading into 2025, he has a cap number of $31.8 million. Now, how much of this would Seattle take on? I think that is the bigger question. If I'm the Patriots, I'm telling Seattle, I'm saying, hey, we make this trade, you lower your asking price from a first and third round pick, I will take on as much of that contract as you possibly want me to. Because again, the Patriots are in a situation where they have $127 million in cap space. They're not going to spend all that. I don't know if you guys have seen the free agency pool that is expected this offseason. It really is not all that good. I'm sorry. There's a couple of guys that I would like for the Patriots to target that I think can really help change this team and make sense for this team. But for the most part, this free agency class isn't all that good. There's not enough guys that they're going to go out there and spend $127 million. There's not enough guys out there for the Patriots to go out there and spend $100 million. So them taking on $31.8 million for DK, if that brings down the value in order to get him on the team, I'm 100% doing that. Now, with that being said, you guys see the contract right here. 2026, 2027, 2028 are all void years. So with that being said, DK does need a new contract. He's going into contract year. That is also the biggest concern right now, because there's also been reports that have come out over the last few days. There's been so many reports, I can't remember who this one is by, but there were reports coming out that there is a potential world in which if a deal does not get done between the Seahawks and another NFL team, there cannot be mutual grounding, then there is a world in which DK stays with the Seahawks this season, plays out the final year of his contract, enters free agency, and goes wherever he wants. If you are the Patriots, that's probably one of the last things you want. Now, Who knows? Maybe 2025 goes really, really well with Vrabel and Drake Maye, and DK sees this and he says, that team's on an upward trajectory. They're going to pay me a lot of money. I'll sign with them in free agency. But I'm sure at this point, DK also wants to get a high contract with a team that is very competitive up until this point. So right now is your opportunity to go out and get him via trade to where he really, for the most part, doesn't have his say. He doesn't necessarily have his specific picks of a team that he could go to. Now, from I feel like I keep saying 49ers. I want to keep saying 49ers, but the Seahawks, from a Seahawks perspective here, not 49ers, Colby, Seahawks. From a Seahawks standpoint, if they trade him pre-June 1st, which would be what makes the most sense, they get draft capital before the start of the 2025 NFL draft, they would take on $21 million in dead money, but they would free up about $10.8 million in cap savings. Now, they could make him a post-June 1st trade. They'd free up about $18 million, so about an extra $8 million if they did it after June 1st. I don't think they're going to do that. Again, I think that they want the draft capital for this year's draft. They want that draft capital right now. I think that's also going to give them the highest potential compensation. But again, I think that's why, Seattle, they're going to be looking for higher end compensation. You're not going to get DK for a third round pick. You're not going to get DK for a third and fourth round pick because they get rid of him. They're taking on $21 million in dead money. They're only freeing up about $10.8 million in cap space. So again, while ultimately I feel as if nobody's going to give them a first and third round pick, I wonder if a second round pick and a third round pick, a second round pick and a fourth round pick would maybe get it done for DK. And what we know about the Patriots is that they have significantly better draft capital than the opposing teams that are also in the DK Metcalf sweepstakes. If it comes down to the Patriots, the Chargers, the Steelers, even if for some wild reason the Houston Texans are still in the mix, which again, I don't believe they are, the Patriots have better draft capital, significantly better draft capital than each and every single one of those teams. If they're looking for a second and a third round pick and they're willing to give that up, or a second and a fourth round pick, the Patriots' second, third, fourth round picks, they're all significantly higher. They're right in the beginning of those rounds because of just how bad the Patriots were this past season. The Steelers, the Chargers, the Texans, those were all postseason contenders. So their picks are going to be later on in those rounds. So if you're Seattle, no duh, you're going to want the better pick. So again, that's why a lot of league executives believe, and even NFL analysts believe, that the Patriots, if DK Metcalf does get traded, are ultimately going to be the team that he gets traded to. Now, what contract would I give him? I want to bring this up here for you guys. So I'm going to stop sharing. Actually, let's go back here real quick. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. We're going to go back here, show you this real quick. So these are currently the highest paid wide receivers. Make sure you guys can see this real quick. Okay, perfect. So these are currently the highest paid wide receivers in the NFL. DK is like the 13th highest paid wide receiver. So you can understandably, look at why he's not happy with his current contract standing. He's making about roughly $24 million annually on his current contract. From what I've been hearing, if the Patriots did ultimately make a deal for him, they would have to pay him at least $30 million per year. That would make him one of the 10th highest paid wide receivers, which I think DK does deserve to be. He would be, more one of the higher paid 10th highest paid wide receivers. But let's say he makes about, $31 million. He's being paid up there with guys like Brandon Ayuk, Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown. But again, if you get him under that $32 million a year kind of annually, he'll be paid less than A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson. And I think that DK Metcalf, given his talent, given what I think he can do numbers-wise in Josh McDaniels' offense with Drake Maye, I think he deserves to be paid with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Brandon Ayuk. And some of you might say $30 million for him. I don't know if he's necessarily worth that given some of the character concerns and some of the inconsistencies. What we need to normalize is the fact that the cap space is going up each and every single offseason, right? So with that being said, naturally, supply and demand, the contracts that teams are giving up, they're also going to go up every single offseason. Guys, it's not a coincidence that this is the third, maybe fourth straight offseason that the cap space has gone up. I don't think it's a coincidence that over the last 3-4 years, we've also seen quarterbacks and wide receivers specifically reset the market every single year. Again, when teams have more money to spend, players are going to demand more money. $30 million for a wide receiver, especially a wide receiver one, is not what it once used to be. Understanding where this market is going, we might also look down the road 2 years from now, and receivers could be making $50, maybe $55 million by then. And we could look back and say, DK's only making $30 million a year? That's actually pretty good. That's actually a pretty good deal. So again, keep that in mind. I remember when Jalen Hurts was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. I remember when Patrick Mahomes was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, and everybody thought that this was the end of the Kansas City Chiefs. They were officially done because they just made Patrick Mahomes the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Very quickly, that contract didn't look very bad whatsoever and actually ended up looking like a deal for them because, again, that cap space just kept going up and going up and going up. Now, actually, I want to see how old. So DK's 28 years old. I would be fine giving him so ideally, I would like to give him a 2-year extension on top of what he already has. To really sweeten the pot, the Patriots might have to give him a 3-year extension on top of what he already has. I feel as if the Patriots give him a 2-year extension with him already having 1 year left on his current contract. That means he'd be signed for about 3 more years under contract for the Patriots, meaning that by the time he would be a free agent again, his contract with New England would be up. He'd be around, 31 years old, and then I would reevaluate where he's at. It is statistically proven that wide receivers that are 30 years old, once they hit 30 for whatever God unknown reason, for whatever this curse is, they just hit a downward spiral. Now, some wide receivers, they'll hit 30 and they will immediately hit a downward spiral. Some wide receivers will gradually just start going downhill. What is DK going to be? Is he going to be one of those receivers that gets to 30 and immediately does not produce the same? Or is he one of those guys that once he hits 30, each year after, he slowly starts going down? Him being 31 years old when that contract would be up would allow me to reevaluate what kind of contract he deserves, while also not potentially giving out a bad contract. The Patriots have a lot of money to go out there and spend to give players, but that doesn't mean they should throw money against the wall. And that's another part that I think people are a little bit confused about. If you start giving out bad contracts, even if you have the money right now, down the road, it's going to be hard to get out of those contracts. You're not going to be able to improve your roster and get better because you don't have the money to do so, because you're too busy giving bad players bad contracts and overpaying talent that doesn't deserve to do so. I feel like, again, you give him 2-year deal. He's signed for you under contract for 3 more seasons. That allows you to reevaluate and not potentially give someone like DK a bad contract that keeps you under wraps and kind of keeps you held bent from making moves, when Drake Maye, let's say, his contract ultimately ends up being up. But we got some super chats that I want to get into. You guys are very, very generous. This helps support us so much on the channel. I say us as if I'm not the only one that works here. You guys will see other Patriots channels and networks involving the Patriots. They are a whole network. They have a whole team working. Everything you guys have ever seen on this channel has only ever and will ever only just be me. From thumbnails to pre-production to post-production to live streams to shorts to editing, everything is done by your boys. So you guys supporting means the absolute world and helps support me tremendously. So thank you all beyond words. I feel like I should start working on maybe like channel memberships, right? That's something that the AFC East Roundtable does. I've been thinking about doing it. So let me know if you guys are interested in that. Maybe I'll start building some tiers here on YouTube. But my boy Randy comes in here with a $2 donation and says, as a Seahawks fan, give us a 2026 first. It will be top 5. I don't know if it's going to be top 5, but I still think it's going to be high. So early on, and by the way, this is very early on. This is before free agency, the draft. I think the Patriots will probably end up being like a 7-win team. I think they're going to beat up on the bad teams. That's what Mike Vrabel said. They're going to beat up on the bad teams, but they understand that this is a process. I don't think they're going to be like the Commanders to where, they're just right there, year one from going to a Super Bowl. I don't think that's going to be the Patriots. I think this talent is so bad on this roster. It's going to take a couple of years for the Patriots to get back. I don't think they're going to be bad enough to have a top 5 pick. Here's what I'll tell you, Randy. What about this? So Randy's a Seahawks fan, everyone. So Randy's the guy to go to in this situation. Randy, how would you feel if, let's say, the Patriots traded down, right? So I don't know. Let me see. Where's the Seattle Seahawks pick? So the Seahawks have the 18th pick. So Randy, how would you feel if I said straight up, you get 4, I get 18, I get DK Metcalf, and on top of you going up to 4, you get like a 3rd or 4th round pick? How would you feel about that? And then at 18, the Patriots can go, let's say, offensive tackle. Ronnie Stanley just signed a 3-year extension with the Ravens today, so he's off the market. Patriots get their tackle at 18. Everybody's saying, I don't want Kelvin Banks or Will Campbell at 4. Well, now you traded down to 18. You got your wide receiver 1 in DK Metcalf, and now you can get Kelvin Banks, Will Campbell, Ariante Ursary, whoever's going to be there at 18. Now you got your franchise left tackle. How would you feel about that, Randy? Randy also comes in and says, watch every game of DK's career, demands double teams, works hard, no drama before trade demand, but he doesn't run good routes, can't catch 50-50 balls. Yeah, I feel like DK's that type of guy who, I think his emotions can get past him a little bit. He's not a burner, but he has really good speed for a guy who's 6'4" and the size he has. He has that very rare combination of both size and speed, which I feel like there's only one other guy in the league that has both the size and speed combination that DK does, and that's A.J. Brown, right? And we know that Mike Vrabel wants A.J. Brown. We know that that is his perfect style of wide receiver, which I think is why DK would make so much sense in a Mike Vrabel-led team. I think he can, make plays in contested catch situations, but he isn't this like 80-20 contested catch guy to where, DK's down there somewhere, might as well just chuck the ball up. But again, he gets open with pure speed, route running ability, and when it comes down to it, he can box the guy out, but, like Randy says, can be a little bit inconsistent at doing so. My boy Ford Nation comes in with a $2 donation and says, what do y'all think? DK and Chris Godwin, I'll take it. Hey man, look, I'm gonna take it slow. Okay, you know what? Give me one. The Patriots have not had a 1,000-yard wide receiver since 2019. Julian Edelman, who I love Jules from the bottom of my heart. In fact, actually, I was at training camp 2 years ago, so not this past year, but the summer prior, and I got this signed by him. Can you guys see that? Am I showing this the right way? There we go. Actually, yeah, so I got this signed by him. Love Jules. Easily. Might be my favorite Patriot, not named Tom Brady. Tom Brady don't count. Probably my favorite Patriot, not named Tom Brady. But Julian Edelman was never, ever a wide receiver 1 and should never even be looked at as a wide receiver 1. The last time the Patriots had like a real wide receiver 1 was like the 2 weeks they had, Antonio Brown on the roster. Or like the couple months that who was it, man? 2018 season before he got spent. Josh Gordon, right? For the couple months that Josh Gordon was on the roster, that's like the last time the Patriots had a true wide receiver 1. So whether it's DK, whether it's Chris Godwin, I have some guys ranked over the others. I have my preferences on who I would want. Shoot, man, if you can get both, give me both, but I'm more focused on getting one. The thing, though, too, is that Chris Godwin, you're going to have to pay him at least $25 million. Then you have, DK, who you're going to, let's say you pay him about $30 million. Are we really going to be that team straight off the bat that pays $55+ million to 2 wide receivers? I've been someone who's been very heavy on the fact that the way that the Bengals just did business with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Hendrickson and all that is not the correct way to do business. If we're talking like DK or Chris Godwin on top of drafting a wide receiver high, I'd be more okay with that because you have that wide receiver on a rookie deal. But hey, man, if they got the money and they made it happen, I wouldn't be sitting here saying, why did you get DK and Chris Godwin? I'd be saying, you know what? I'll deal with the depression of having no money when the time comes. But for the next couple of seasons, I'm going to enjoy having a high-powered offense with Drake Maye. But Randy comes in here with a $5 donation, says, emotions never bothered me. I liked the edge. For what we want to do, build in the trenches, paying top of the market for wide receivers, not what we need, will be good for Maye. Randy, I absolutely agree with you. And it makes sense, right? Like, we've heard rumors that the Seahawks, they're trying to get top-tier talent on the defensive side of the football, more specifically in the trenches on that defensive line. That makes a lot of sense given where their head coach is from. He was a former defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. So I think they want to use their draft capital, get younger at receiver, but more specifically, start winning through their defense early on. I think that makes a ton of sense. And Drake Maye, like you mentioned, needs a wide receiver one. He needs some type of help, especially looking at the fact that every good offensive lineman that was expected to hit free agency doesn't look like they're hitting free agency anymore. So the Patriots building up the offensive line, it might be a multi-year thing. It's not going to be as easy for the Patriots to build this O-line as maybe we originally thought. But hey, man, shout out to Randy for coming in here as a Seahawks fan and giving us a little bit of insight on maybe what they're looking to do. Now, one more thing I do want to do here quick is I want to look at the statistics of DK. So I'll make sure you guys can see this real quick. All right, perfect. So this past season here in 2024, in 15 games, for the most part, DK has been that type of wide receiver that's always stayed healthy. And that's what I really like. You know, I was out on Debo because I thought he was inconsistent with getting on the field and staying on the field. I think the best ability in all of sports is availability, your ability to get on the field and stay on the field. Now, there are other reasons I didn't want Debo. I didn't think he really fit the system per se, but that was my biggest thing. That's also with someone like Brandon Ayuk. While I think Ayuk would work really well in this system, I have concerns about, him getting on the field and staying on the field, and more specifically, him coming off of the injuries he has. With DK, you know that he's a tough dude, and he's going to stay on the field. Even when he has, a little thing that's nagging him, he's going to be somebody that pushes through it and stays on the field. But this past season, 15 games, he was targeted 108 times, 66 receptions, 992 yards, 15 yards on average, and 5 touchdowns. Now, this was actually a down season for him. He had 2 1,000-yard seasons prior to 2024. In 2023, made a Pro Bowl, played in, almost every single game. He just missed one, played in 16 total games, was targeted 119 times, 66 receptions again, 1,114 yards, 16.9 yards on average, and 8 touchdowns. In 2022, plays an entire season, 141 targets, 90 receptions, 1,048 yards, 11.6 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I think that if he comes to New England, and I don't believe that this is a hot take, I think if he comes to New England, he's going to be targeted more than he was ever targeted throughout his entire NFL career up to this point with the Seattle Seahawks. I think that he could be targeted, 150, 160 times at minimum and put up 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns. That would not surprise me in the slightest, just given how bad the Patriots need receiving help and just how much Drake Maye wants to push the damn ball down the field. Ironically, that's also where Drake Maye's accuracy is the best. Let's come back here. Ooh. You guys are killing it with the Super Chat game today. I love it. My boy Mutt Viles comes in. Now, guys, Mutt Viles from the AFC East Roundtable, he is a Jets fan, but he's a good Jets fan. So we're not going to bully him, guys. We're not going to get on him. We will not tolerate hate to Mutt Viles here. Says, Colby, if I'm a Pats fan, I would love for them to go get DK and A.J. Brown / Devontae Adams for Drake Maye, with drafting the left tackle from LSU. So Will Campbell at 4. What you want to do for edge. So, hey, man, Mutt Viles, this would be a perfect world. Unfortunately, if you're going out there and you're getting DK and A.J. Brown, or you're getting DK or A.J. Brown, I think you are going to have to give up that first overall pick. Now, Who knows? I feel like the receiver market has kind of dropped from what I originally predicted it from being. I mean, it's being said that a potential trade for Brandon Ayuk would only net in a third-round pick. I think that's absolutely insane. So maybe, you wouldn't have to give up a first for DK. Maybe you wouldn't have to give up a first for AJ Brown. I just feel like those guys are in different situations. They're a little bit more prolific than your like Brandon Ayuk's, your Deebo Samuel's, multiple years under contract for both of those guys still. So I think that first-round pick would have to be in play for both of those guys. So if that's the case, you're probably not getting, Will Campbell, Calvin Banks, any of those guys, because you're not going to have a first-round pick. I wouldn't be mad at Devontae Adams. I feel like Devontae Adams at this point, though, he probably wants to go play for a contender. He's a little bit inconsistent at this point in his career, but Devontae Adams is also on the back end of his career, so it is completely understandable that he doesn't perform the way that he once did. For me, Devontae Adams would be one of like my last resorts. And that might sound a little wild, but the reason that I'm saying that is because DK, he's younger. He can be here for multiple years. AJ, young. He can be here for multiple years. Brandon Ayuk, young. He can be here for multiple years. Chris Godwin, he's like 28 years old. Young enough. He can be here for multiple years. Devontae Adams, he's going to be in the league for 1-2 more years max, and then, he's going to be done. I want a guy who's going to be here for multiple years and build that connection with your young quarterback in Drake Maye and can be here when you start contending again. I just don't think Devontae Adams is going to do that. But again, if you get your DK, you get your AJ Brown, you get your Brandon Ayuk or Chris Godwin on top of bringing in Devontae Adams, okay, now you're cooking with gas a little bit because you're not relying on Adams to be the sole, kind of vocal point to your offense for the future. But one thing I will say too is that I do think having DK and AJ Brown, or even DK and Adams, or AJ Brown and Adams, I think that would be a little bit redundant just because you have two big outside X receivers. What I would actually like to do in this case is if you're going to really double down to get two elite wide receivers, I would say go get DK or AJ Brown, big outside X receiver, and then you get your guy in the slot. Go get your Cooper Kupps. Go get your Chris Godwins, your guys that are going to be quick in that short to intermediate route, but they also got some speed. They can stretch the field if you might need be, because looking at the style of the Josh McDaniels offense, he's never had that type of offense where, multiple big X receivers have been the vocal point to that offense. The vocal point to that offense has always been that smaller receiver that can stretch the field, that works in the slot, that has that short area quickness, short to intermediate routes, right? That's what I would do. If you can still go get DK, you can get AJ Brown, 1,000% you do that. But then I would say if you can, you double down, you get that guy in the slot, because right now the Patriots don't really have that guy in the slot. Shout out to Mutt Viles, though, bringing in some good discussions. Four Nation says, I don't want Travis Hunter. I'd rather have Tet. Now, Four Nation, people might come at you for saying that, but if they come at you, they're going to have to come at me. This is a wild take, and I understand it. I broke this down on TikTok. Make sure you guys follow me on TikTok at Patriots Global, because I make regular Patriots and NFL related content. One of the videos I made, and it popped off, was about, I don't want Travis Hunter. And I know it's crazy, but the way that I see it is I get that Travis Hunter is going to be a blue chip player. I don't trust the Patriots to be the ones to develop him. I think Travis Hunter, how well he is in the NFL, is solely going to be based off of how well the organization he goes to develops him. The Patriots, they have a new cornerbacks coach. They have a new safeties coach. So if he's a cornerback, I already don't know if I trust that side to develop him as it is already, because we've never seen that these coaches in New England before. We've never seen them develop guys in New England before. And then if we're talking about Travis Hunter as a wide receiver, when is the last time the Patriots developed a wide receiver? Like genuinely developed a wide receiver. Pop Douglas was never developed. Pop Douglas is the same damn receiver he was at college. He was just good. Pop Douglas was never a 6th-round pick. He was always better than a 6th-round pick. That was just good value for the Patriots. Jacoby Myers as a UDFA. Jacoby Myers came in and worked his butt off, all right? They didn't develop him. I firmly believe that was all on Jacoby Myers. I simply do not remember the last time The Patriots had a wide receiver come to the organization, and they were the reason that that guy got better. So why would I want them to take a guy at 4 with a game-changing, a franchise-defining pick at 4th overall? And then I have to put my faith and trust that the Patriots are going to be the team that develops him? The way that I see this is that if I want a wide receiver, why do I not go out and get someone who has devoted their entire collegiate career to this point at being a wide receiver? If I want a cornerback, why do I not go out and get a guy who has devoted his entire career to being a cornerback? Also, this is a good free agency class for corners. I would rather the Patriots go out and get a veteran. Also, why am I getting a cornerback at 4th overall? That's my other argument there. Also, another side of this, if you lose Travis Hunter, he goes down. Not only are you losing a wide receiver, but you're also losing a cornerback. You're losing a guy who's 2-1. The other side of this is that you're not getting Travis Hunter to play 100% offense, 100% defense. You're not getting him to play 80% offense, 80% defense. From what's been said about Travis Hunter, he is going to be a cornerback at the next level. That's what multiple leagues have said about him. There's only been one NFL team that says I view Travis Hunter as a wide receiver, and that was the Cleveland Browns. Every other team up to this point has said he's a cornerback. He will only get 10 to 15 snaps on offense per game. So Travis Hunter is still not going to come in and solve your wide receiver 1 problems. He's going to be someone that comes in. He's going to be a very, very good cornerback opposite of Gonzo. You're going to have the best cornerback tandem in the NFL. And then you're going to have a guy that is going to give you 10, 15 snaps, 10, 15 routes on offense per game. He'll help you produce, but he's not going to be your wide receiver 1. Again, I'm not here to hate on Travis Hunter. I think he's going to be a good player. But let me ask you guys, do you believe that do you trust the Patriots to develop Travis Hunter correctly on offense for him to be worth that 4th overall pick over some of the other players that will be there at 4? Then to trade that pick for an established player. That's the way that I look at it. I just think there's better routes to go. Randy comes back in here. Randy, you're killing it today. He says, DK having career year before injury in Atlanta game. Stud. Yeah, DK's been an absolute stud, man. And here's the other thing, too, is that with DK Metcalf, Randy, absolute no disrespect. Actually, Randy, I don't think you care because he's not your quarterback anymore. Geno freaking Smith was your quarterback. And again, I'm not here to hate on Geno Smith, but you cannot argue with me that Drake Maye is a better, more talented quarterback than Geno Smith. So again, DK, you're coming to an offense to where you're going to be the vocal point. You're wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. Ain't nobody splitting reps with you, my guy. And you're upgrading that talent with quarterback. It just screams breakout season for DK if he comes to New England. Maybe I'm biased. That's okay. That's okay. So now you're holding Hunter's versatility against him. Nobody's holding his versatility against him. When do you see players who play on both sides of the football? When do you see those guys actually go out and work? Who was it that was, he was drafted by, what was it? Was it the Giants or the Cardinals? I want to say it was the Giants that drafted this guy a few years ago. I want to say his name was like first or last name was Isaiah. One of those two. But he was a mix between a defensive back and a linebacker. And teams thought, all right, he's a versatile piece. We can use him all over the defense. Nobody actually knew what his position was. He never focused during college on actually excelling his game at one position. Teams just thought, all right, we have a guy that can do it all. And he was a bust of a first-round pick. Just so it's clear, I'm not hating on anybody that likes Travis Hunter. I'm not saying if the Patriots get Travis Hunter that I'm like quitting my job. It's just an opinion, right? And that's the fun thing about opinions is that everybody can have different opinions. Everyone should have different opinions because that's what makes us critically think. If we all had the same opinions, nothing would be fun here. But this is how I feel, right? I can't change it. I really tried to get in on the DK Metcalf, or not DK, but I've tried to get in on the Travis Hunter like realm. And I love him. I love him as a player. I love watching his film. I think that he can be a good player with a very specific team. I just don't trust the Patriots, given our track run over the last several years, year one of a new regime. I just don't trust us to be the team that develops Travis Hunter correctly. Nothing against him at all. If anything, it's more so against us. Isaiah Simmons, yes. Man, you guys got me, man. You guys got me. He was drafted by the Cardinals. Yeah, so he was drafted by the Cardinals, and then he was released from the Cardinals because, he was terrible. And then he signed with the Giants. Doubt all you want. Your take isn't going to age well. I don't need it to age well. I'm not, me saying this about Travis Hunter is not me putting out hot takes and me getting clicks. This is the way I feel. By the way, I want to make this clear also. People are going to say, if Travis Hunter goes out and who's before the Patriots? Let's say he goes to the Tennessee Titans and he balls out. Let's say he goes to the Browns and he absolutely balls out. People are going to watch him ball out and say, oh, Colby, you see how good he is? He could have been like that in New England. What people fail to recognize is that because a player works out for one organization does not mean that would have been the same thing for another organization. So you're telling me that Tom Brady, drafted in the 6th round by the Patriots, goes on to be the greatest of all time. You're telling me he could have gone to any organization, and he would have been the exact same player. How many times throughout all of our NFL journeys from watching football have we seen a player work out from one team, not work out for another? How many times have we seen a player be listed as a bust, but go to another team and absolutely shine? Let Geno Smith be one of them. Let Sam Darnold be one of them. Some players work out with certain schemes and organizations, and some players simply do not. Again, I just don't trust the Patriots to develop Travis Hunter correctly. I believe that the Patriots view, and this is not me reporting anything, I believe the Patriots view Travis Hunter as a cornerback that will have snaps on offense. Why would I take somebody 4th overall? Because that's where you would have to take him. Why would I take a player 4th overall to mainly play cornerback for me? A guy who will have 10 to 15 snaps on offense. Why would I want that? Cornerback is a need for sure. Cornerback 2 is a big need. Cornerback 2 is maybe the 5th biggest need, 4th or 5th biggest need on this team right now. That is not worth the 4th overall pick. If you want a wide receiver so bad, go get Tet. Go get Matthew Golden. Get a guy in the mid rounds. Go get Jaden Higgins. Go get Jalen Noel, excuse me. That's just my opinion. Again, I'm not saying anybody's got to agree with me. That's not what I need, right? Here's the thing. This is the last thing that I'm going to say. It's the last thing that I'm going to say before we log off. Because this video was about DK. I want to do a live stream, maybe tomorrow, doing like a Q&A, doing like a preview of free agency and the draft. Honestly, we could do that too, where we can have more discussions. But the last thing I'll say is that if you come onto this channel just for us to agree, then you are missing the point of hearing different perspectives, right? If you're the type of person that gets mad simply because somebody does not think the same way you do. Think of it as an opportunity to grow. And that's what I will always want to do with this channel. That's what my channel has always been based off of, is bringing you guys the facts. But when I give you my opinions, it is not to say you must think the same way that I think. It's not to say that because you think differently that you are wrong. It is simply to say, hey, you're thinking about something from one perspective. Let me change your mind. Let me change the course that you are on. Think about it from this perspective. Because when it comes to football, when it comes to succeeding, when it comes to predicting moves for each team in the NFL, you need to think outside the box and you need to see things from every single angle. Why? Because that's what organizations do. They have to see things from every single angle. That is what the best organizations do. That is what the Patriots did for 20 years. That is what Bill Belichick did for 20 years. That made him the best head coach of all time. He thought out of the box and he saw things from every single perspective and saw things from perspectives that nobody else thought of. He didn't get stuck in his own mental way. Now, maybe over the last, final couple years in New England, maybe he did then, but that's what led to the downfall. I'm always going to challenge you guys to see things from a different perspective and challenge that critical thinking a little bit. But hey, guys, this video today, though, was about DK Metcalf. I want to kick it to you guys. What are your thoughts about DK Metcalf? The New England Patriots are in on a trade for him, and multiple league executives, the league-wide analysts thinking that DK, if he does ultimately get dealt, will be traded to the New England Patriots. Only time is going to tell, but starting here on Monday, when teams start contacting free agents and the new league year begins, tampering begins, things are going to start breaking loose. So make sure you guys subscribe here to Patriots Global. Make sure you hit that bell notification so that you get notified every single time we post a video, every single time we go live. You guys are not going to want to miss out on any breaking news that happens. But as always, I appreciate each and every single one of you for watching. And until next time, go Pats.